Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering a very special issue of the Batman series, Batman issue 142, which just came out. And the reason this issue is so special is because it's the first part to a brand new storyline called The Joker Year 1. Now, there's been a lot of mystery surrounding the Joker's origin ever since I think 2015, 2016. I think at the end of Darkseid War when Batman found out that there were 3 Jokers. And since then there hasn't been a lot of follow-up from DC on this. And I think they were kind of scared about like the idea of permanently changing canon so drastically that they just didn't want to even touch it, and they just wanted fans to kind of play with the idea in their heads. And then 3 Jokers came out, and I loved it for a big story about trauma with the Bat family, but most people didn't because it didn't reveal everything. But that's what makes this so exciting, because now we're kind of getting something in the way of answers, in the way of fleshing things out. But there's also something different about this Year 1 story in that it is so drastically different from every other Year 1 story that DC's done. Obviously you have things like Batman Year 1, Robin Year 1, Nightwing Year 1, Superman, The Flash Year 1. With stories like that, not only are you following a hero, but you're also kind of, it's an origin story. With the Joker, we more or less already know it, so what this does instead is really interesting. They just focus on the stories that have already been told, and they tie together The Killing Joke, where we get to see Joker's origin, Batman Zero Year, where we get to see Joker as part of the Red Hood gang, and we see him turn into the Joker again as part of the New 52 Universe's retelling, and then matches those stories with a recent story that DC just did called The Man Who Stopped Laughing. And in that story, we get to see an alternate universe Joker who can basically tap into minds of Jokers from other universes. We find out that when he did this, he actually tapped into our Joker's mind, and I guess in doing so, he got essentially lost in Joker's crazy messed up psyche and ended up replaying his memories, tapping into his mind over and over and over again. And in going through his memories, going through his mind again and again and again, he somehow duplicated our Joker and, gave us the 3 Jokers. And that's basically where this story picks up. What's also different about this Year 1 story is the fact that it has flash forwards. And this issue actually opens up with a flash forward, an older, disgruntled Batman looking at the deceased body of what seems to be like the Joker, but we learn through narration actually isn't, just a duplicate, someone that looks like him. And we can make out from these panels that he's hiding in the sewer. We don't know why there's a duplicate. We don't know anything right now. All that we can see from this narration is Batman is pissed, comparing the Joker to Satan himself. So clearly something had to have gone wrong in this future. We don't know how far into the future it is, but it's been long enough for things to go drastically wrong, so keep that in mind. We then see this recently transformed Joker, very panicked, running around. He mistakes this random woman for someone else, calling her Sally, looking pretty sane. For the most part, he just looks like very paranoid, very panicked. But then we see this woman is named Jodie, and she had no idea who he was. And we see some narration from the Joker that says, "I need to fix this, I need my life back." So we're very clearly looking at a Joker that, he's been transformed, he's gone through all this stuff, but he didn't just immediately go insane. He's still got some, fraction of his mind left. We then jump 6 months into the future. Joker's been isolated. He actually, I've never seen Joker with a beard, but he's grown one out over this time. He's alone, he's isolated, he's in someone's apartment, someone he seemingly killed. And as we get a surprising amount of narration from this Joker, it appears more that he lost his sanity very gradually over time in isolation, realizing how different he is, realizing how much his life has fallen apart. And we see him use this, I can't even tell what it is, makeup or face paint or some gel of some kind, and he starts to paint his face skin color again, which is so crazy. As he's about to go out in public, he's getting his face ready. He already has all the makeup on permanently, so in order to look normal, he has to put makeup on. It's such a weird concept. But we then jump into the future again and get some narration from Batman saying he couldn't solve the Joker, he couldn't help him, saying that at some point they just broke down, locked him away in Arkham for good, hooking him up to a machine. Barbara in this future has become Commissioner Gordon, and basically what this machine does is allows him to dream permanently and stay in this catatonic state where in his mind he thinks he's living real life and still fighting Batman, still trying to one-up him and defeat him and take over and all this stuff. But apparently Batman also rigged this machine so that no matter what he's dreaming about, no matter what he does, no matter what, he made it so that Batman would always win. So he's forced in this lifelong simulation basically where he's just destined to lose, which is so crazy. It kind of seems inhumane, but it's the Joker. And as Batman says in this narration, it's more humane than that monster ever deserved. And can't really argue with that. But then Batman explains that some doctor at Arkham was just too tempted by the idea of studying this lab subject. He just had to study the legendary psychotic mind of this sociopath. And because of this guy's arrogance, Joker killed him, got out before anyone could catch him or stop him, and now he's planning something else. We then jump back in time to where Joker is out in public, makeup on, and he's basically just like picking fights with people. But as we see this fight play out, we also get consistent narration from the Joker, where his mind is basically begging himself to stop, to not fly off the handle, to not lose his sanity again, to not get in fights like this. But through his actions, we see something completely different. We see regular old Joker cracking jokes, continuing to pick a fight, making remarks about the other guys he's fighting, and it just kind of shows that his body and his mind aren't in sync, and it's really like an interesting peek into his mind. We then get a little scene with Batman and Jim Gordon, where Batman basically explains that he doesn't think the Joker, you know, in this case, he refers to him as the leader of the Red Hood gang, and Jim is basically like, didn't he fall into a vat of acid? Like, how is he not dead? And then Batman mentions he went back and checked for a body and didn't find one, and then he tested the acid from the vat and found that it was corrosive, but it wasn't enough to eliminate human remains very quickly. So basically, this shows us that Batman is smart enough and aware enough to know that even though he doesn't really know the Joker exists, he knows that he's out there, he knows that he may be alive, and he probably is. After their conversation, Batman glides through the city, and down below, Mr. J himself sees the silhouette of the bat and starts to panic. He runs and runs and runs far, far away, saying things in his head like, "You're not fearless, don't let him catch us, please. He's beautiful and he's terrifying and he caused us pain." He walks into an empty field, and his internal monologue continues. "Maybe we should just walk away, start anew somewhere else. We don't need revenge or violence. Please, no more chaos. I'm scared." He finds himself at the bottom of a riverbank, and he kneels down in the grass by the river and sees his reflection in the water. He's the Joker right now, but we can see his former self in the reflection of the water. He chokes the life out of that reflection until he dies and sits there in the water looking at his dead self, laughing. We then flash forward again to the future, get some more narration from Batman, and as he continues through this tunnel, Batman explains that somewhere in the city, Duke Thomas is infected, and because of that, his powers are going haywire, absorbing all the light in the city and plunging Gotham into eternal night. Batman hesitates at the bottom of the ladder leading up out of the sewer, thinking to himself, "They're all gone. I'm alone. Everyone's infected. The whole world has been subjected to an audible virus spread by laughter, and now the whole world is the Joker." So you can see what I mean about this issue being so different from any year ones that we've had before. There's a ton of different elements at play here. The past, the future, Joker's origin, his slow descent into madness, the different narrations between Batman's recounting of the situation, Joker's inner monologue, contrasting his own actions, you know, just a lot of stuff. It's very, very interesting. So let me know what you think about this story down in the comments below. Personally, I love it. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe as always for more videos like this. Hit the bell. And yeah, that is all for this video, and until next time, I will see you later. Thanks for watching.